Baruch here with genConnect.com, and I'm joined today by Professor Eldar Shafir from Princeton University. How are you, Professor?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So what is it that makes us think that we're being rational when in fact we're being very far from it?
Well, one of the interesting things that happen is that many of the things we plan to do in life, we feel like we can go ahead and pursue and do them. Rationality is an interesting case where you might endorse certain principles that you think make a lot of sense, but then you don't have full control over your behavior. Our brains, the machines that we have behind the eyes and between the ears, do their own thing. So you plan to have a certain attitude, a certain judgment, and then you go around and your behavior, your brain do their own thing in ways we're not always fully aware of, and end up producing behaviors that are quite different.
How does this figure into the concept of scarcity?
Well, the work that I've been focused on recently, the book on scarcity that's coming out in September, really discusses the psychology that comes with not having enough. So when people don't have enough, it weighs on them. It grabs a lot of their focus. They tunnel on this thing they don't have enough of. It might be money, it might be time, it might be friends if you're very lonely, and you spend a lot of time thinking about it. And you spend so much time thinking about it that you end up ignoring many other aspects of your life in ways that could be quite detrimental.
But you're saying the word enough. How do we define enough?
That's a great question, and it's not a simple one. It's the gap between what you think you need and what you have. There are different ways in which this could happen. Either your desires are very elaborate, very high, and it's just hard to satisfy them, or your desires are pretty modest, but you just don't have the minimum required to satisfy those desires. So if you're quite poor, if you're very lonely, if you're extremely busy, even the little bit you might need may be very hard to come by.
How should one rationally acknowledge, though, when enough is enough?
Very hard to do. Very hard to do. To some extent, we can control our desires and our needs. To some extent, of course, they're prone to influences from society around us. Maybe people, enough of your friends have an iPod, you feel like you need an iPod as well. And then come very subtle ways in which you can manage what you get and what you do by carefully manipulating how you use your time, how you use your money, in ways that make it more easy to achieve more of your goals or less.
Is there one piece of advice that our viewers could use to avoid or at least try to mitigate that anxiety that we all inevitably get from this conflict?
The main story that we tell in the book on scarcity is that what it does more than anything else that's so hard for us to intuit is it imposes a bandwidth tax. You focus so much time on it, so much energy and mental attention that you just run out of bandwidth. And that's something that if you think about, what it does to you, even when you take a 5-minute break, if you spend those 5 minutes worrying about when you're going to get the stuff done or how you're going to afford your rent, it's not really a break. In the mental space, as far as bandwidth goes, you're super engaged in paying a tax as you go. So the really important thing is to be aware of the fact this is weighing on you and try to take time off, not just from the activity, but from the concern, from the bandwidth tax that's being imposed.
Get some perspective.
And some distraction, some time off, think about something else, solve this problem and take a moment off. Don't check your email, don't check your iPhone, do something else in a way that lets your mental apparatus rest.
Professor, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And to learn more about Professor Eldar Shafir and his work on rational decision making, be sure to check out genConnect.com.